Hi, my name is Ann V. Brady, and I'll be reading the rest of Chapter 3 from my book, A New Beginning, the story of my adoption, life, and service. Illustrated by Eric C. Brady. I voted for the first time on November 7th, 1972. I was excited to vote. I had registered as an independent because I figured that if I ever applied for a job in Nassau County government, I wouldn't get one as a Democrat. I voted for George McGovern for president. Unfortunately, President Nixon won a second term. My brother Jim graduated from college and became a teacher. He taught at St. Aidan's Catholic School. He constantly complained about both teachers and students thinking he was a student. He decided to grow a mustache so he would look older. While I was in high school, my parents would go to the Caribbean during spring break while I was at home. Sometimes I would go with my aunts and uncles on my dad's side of the family. I remember one time my parents came home from the trip. My father's hands and feet were all swollen. They had decided to go swimming in the ocean by a beach. Unfortunately, my father stepped on some sea urchins and the spines went into his hands and feet. The spines are made of calcium. My father had to wait for the calcium to absorb into his body so the swelling would go down. Sometime later, I was looking at pictures of their trip when I noticed my parents and my aunts and uncles posing for a picture in front of a sign on the beach. The sign said in English, French, and Spanish that swimming was prohibited because of sea urchins in the water. I showed this picture to my parents and they laughed, saying that no one had read the sign. Below is a picture of my mom and dad. It's a color picture. My dad is wearing a dark sweater. My mother is wearing a white shirt and she has dark hair. My dad has dark hair. And my mom has slacks on. And it's taken in the living room with a picture in the background and part of a curtain in the background. In my senior year at Mineola High School, I stopped taking French and instead took advanced biology, advanced algebra, physics, social studies, and English. Mr. K taught advanced biology. The first project that he put me on was a wheelchair basketball game to raise money for wheelchair-bound athletes. I worked with Karen on the project. I talked with the high school basketball team coach and the director of the community service where people with disabilities congregated and worked out a date and time for the wheelchair basketball game. A date was agreed on, and I found a place to make up flyers for the wheelchair basketball game for a fair price. Karen was supposed to get the tickets to sell for the game, but she couldn't find a place that would sell the tickets fairly cheaply. I found a company that printed tickets out of a barn. I was able to get a block of tickets at a fair and reasonable price. Unfortunately, 2 weeks before the game, we found out that the high school basketball team we scheduled for our fundraiser had to play out of town on that date for the wheelchair basketball team. Between Karen and I, we were able to get teachers to make up the basketball team to play against the wheelchair athletes. The night of the game, we sold tickets and raised a lot of money for the community center. I was disappointed that Mr. K gave me a C for my grade, considering all the hard work that I put into the wheelchair basketball game. He gave Karen a higher grade. I was able to select RH factor for my next science project. I researched RH factor, looking into who discovered the RH factor, how it affects mothers and their babies. I also researched about the RH vaccine given to mothers after the birth of their first child. I ordered quick slide test kits for the RH factor. I tested all the students, including myself and the teacher, for RH factor. I recorded how many of the people tested were RH positive and RH negative. I received an A on my report. Mr. B taught social studies in my senior year. Mr. B taught social studies differently than any other teacher I'd ever had. Instead of using the textbook, he handed out sheets with names of famous people from different eras. He told us to pick out two people from different eras, research them, and write a report about them to present in class. When a student gave a report, the other students had to take notes because they were going to be tested on all the information in the report. I chose Pancho Villa and Clarence Darrow to do my reports on. Later in the year, I did a report on Robert F. Kennedy. Mr. B also told us that we didn't have to come to class if we didn't want to, just as long as we could pass his tests. Nobody skipped Mr. B's classes because he made them so interesting. Mr. B taught physics. Mr. B was a good teacher. I passed physics with a C. It wasn't my favorite class, but I slogged through it. I actually wanted to take calculus, but advanced algebra was a prerequisite for calculus. Mr. R taught advanced algebra. I have always loved algebra. I did fairly well in the course. Mr. R was a cool teacher. He made sure we had the basics and knew what we were doing. I bought Signet 73, my high school yearbook, and a high school ring. Below is a high school yearbook picture. And it has my name, and I have long hair. The last day of school, seniors were allowed to sign yearbooks. I had quite a few friends and teachers sign my yearbook. I also signed a lot of yearbooks. I was ticked off when Gail asked to sign my yearbook. I thought she had some nerve as she bullied me for 4 years, so I told her no. She started to create a scene, and so I finally said yes. I don't remember if I signed her or not. On graduation day, I had to wear a dress under my gown. The cap and gown were maroon, the school colors. My parents were throwing a big party after my graduation, with all my relatives invited. The graduation ceremony took place in the high school gym. I received my diploma. Towards the end of graduation, someone placed a stink bomb in the toilet, so the ceremony was cut short. Fortunately, everyone had already received their diplomas. As we were leaving to go home, Bob told my parents and Jim to go ahead home and that he would drive me home. Bob took me to a local bar to treat me to a drink. At 18, I felt so grown up. I ordered rum and coke. We sat and chatted casually for a while. After our drink, Bob said, "We better get home." We went home and had a great time. My parents bought me a car for commuting to college. It was a 1972 Dodge Start Swinger. It was a brown two-door sedan with a black vinyl roof. I loved that car. It was sturdy and dependable. And below is a picture of my car. I'm seeing on the back of it, it's a brown car, and you can see me sitting on the trunk of it. The next picture is of me at some ceremony that I had to wear a dress at, and the sleeves are off my shoulder. It's white, and I have reddish brown hair. And there's another person whose back is towards me in a gray suit. I don't know who that is. In May, my parents started an EFI fund for $25 fee. They would pay about $250 a month until I graduated from college. The money in the fund paid for tuition, lab fees, and other fees. The only thing not covered was the cost of books. During the summer, I registered at Adelphi University as a nursing student to get a BS degree as an RN. During orientation, I met a boy who was also entering Adelphi. He told me that he was there on a minority scholarship. I asked him how he got the scholarship, as he was white with sandy brown hair. He explained that because his last name was Washington, they assumed that he was black. He went personally to the school administration to straighten it out. He wanted to refuse a scholarship because he was a minority, but they wouldn't take it back. I enjoyed my summer off, going to the beach and visiting Bob and Betty and my niece and nephew. One day, my dad and I took Laura and Bobby to Jones Beach. We had fun making sandcastles and swimming. We made sure when we went in the water to hold their hands and not go too deep in the water. As we were leaving to go home, I noticed that people were staring at the four of us. It suddenly dawned on me that these people believed that my dad and I were a married couple and Laura and Bobby were our kids. My dad was 51 and I was 19. My dad was like, "You're just realizing this now?" Toward the end of the summer, my parents and I went on vacation to Roseland Dude Ranch in the Catskill Mountains. We went with Bob, Betty, Laura, and Bobby in our station wagon for the weekend. They had a lot of fun events, dinners, dances, and entertainment. During the day, we went horseback riding. I rode a mischievous horse. He kept running up to the horse in front of him, trying to bite the horse in the butt. The horse in front of them would try to kick my horse in the face. I solved this problem by pulling him to the other side of the trail. Whenever the horses switched sides of the trail, I would switch to the opposite side. I had no more problems with my horse after that. Bobby and Laura got to ride also, but with one of their trainers holding onto the reins and leading them around in an enclosed pen. When it came time to leave the Dude Ranch, we loaded up and left for home. As we were driving down the interstate, my dad noticed we lost our luggage. He turned the car around and headed back to where he thought we had lost the luggage. We found the luggage and turned around again to pick it up. As we neared the luggage, someone had stopped and was grabbing our luggage. My dad told them, "Thank you for collecting our luggage for us. We can handle it from here." This time they made sure that the luggage was really secure on the roof, secure to the roof. I always filled up my car at this gas station near a house on Willis Avenue. I went there because of the good service, and the attendant was nice and handsome. He had long brown hair and brown eyes. He was always polite and smiled a lot. I always filled up my car when I got down to a quarter of a tank. I didn't want to run out of gas. Jim decided that teaching wasn't for him and that he needed to look into a new career. Jim quit teaching at St. Aidan's School and went to mortuary school. After he graduated, Jim went to work for James Francis Newman Funeral Home. Jim lasted several months working as a mortician before he finally quit. He said it was too depressing. Jim went back to teaching at St. Aidan's School. Jim married his fiancée, Joan, in 1972. Joan was a teacher also. She taught second graders in a disadvantaged community. She loved her job. Jim and Joan got married in St. Aidan's Church. The priest called Jim Robert Newman. Fortunately, the priest corrected himself. I felt bad for Jim that the priest couldn't get his name right. The rest of the wedding and reception went beautifully and without a hitch. Gran started living with us again. She and my mom went to the store one day, and Gran stepped in a depressed drain in the store. She twisted her leg and broke her hip. After that, she lived with us full time. During this time, Gran started to get dementia. She would talk to us as if we were younger. She remembered the past very well. She loved reading and watching the news. She never read the rags like the National Enquirer. She would sleep in the day and then get up in the middle of the night and rearrange all her belongings. She would take items in her dresser drawers and then put them in her closet, and vice versa. Items like clothes, or jewelry would be switched around. In the morning, she would tell my mom that woman stole her things. She forgot that she had moved them herself. That woman that she referred to was her sister, Aunt Rita. Aunt Rita was the opposite of Gran. She loved to gossip and read the National Enquirer. My mom and I shared a lounge jumpsuit. I could wear it because I was skinnier than my mom. I was also taller. One day I was getting ready to take a shower. I went to get the jumpsuit for after my shower. I went into my parents' bedroom to get it in my bare feet. I didn't see the bee on the floor. I stepped right on it. I screamed when I got stung. Bob came running in, and I told him I got stung by a bee. He didn't see the stinger on my foot, and I showed him the dead bee I had picked up off the floor. I had to soak my foot, and then we removed the stinger. It was very painful. And that is the end of chapter 3. Next time will be chapter 4. I hope everybody has enjoyed my reading. I hope you have a wonderful day. And you can go to Amazon.com and get my book. At Amazon.com, search for Ann V. Brady, and you'll find my book, A New Beginning, the story of my adoption, life, and service. The ebook is $2.99. The paperback is $15.50. Both books have my photographs in them for in both color and in black and white. I have a hardcover book that's $16.50, and all the pictures are in black and white. I wanted to save costs for the buyers. And I have a hardcover book for $31, in which all the pictures are in color and in black and white. And I hope you'll buy my book. Thank you and have a nice day.